Good evening. You're watching India Votes. I'm Sana Khan. Let's begin with the top stories. Lok Sabha elections begin peacefully as polling ends for the first phase. High turnout for 5 seats in Assam and 1 in Tripura. BJP releases its election manifesto, promises good governance, development and growth, mentions Ram Mandir issue as well. Election Commission sends notice to BJP's Amit Shah over his alleged hate speech after Congress registered complaints. And more key leaders file nomination papers on Monday, BJP's Arun Jaitley and NC Chief Farooq Abdullah being among heavyweights. Well, the first phase of polling for the world's biggest election took place on Monday. Voters in 6 constituencies, 5 in Assam and 1 in Tripura, cast their votes. The turnout is reported to be as high as 80% in both the states. The final figures, however, will be declared by the Election Commission. Here's a look at how India voted on day 1.
Voters came out in large numbers on Monday, both in Assam and Tripura, to cast their vote in the first phase of Lok Sabha elections. In Assam, long queues were witnessed outside the polling stations even before the voting process began at 7 a.m. As the day progressed, more and more enthusiastic voters turned up at the polling stations. A sizable number of first-time voters as well as women voters flocked to the booths in hordes later in the day.
এবার প্রথমবার ভোট দিচ্ছি ভালোই লাগছে সকাল সকাল একটু ভিড়টা কম থাকে এজন্য
बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम से बहुत समस्या से जर्जरित देश है इसीलिए ये समस्या समाधान हो उचित नेता अच्छा नेता कर्तव्यनिष्ठ नेता हमारा आगे बढ़े और सरकार गठन करे.
In Assam, candidates are contesting for 5 seats in Tezpur, Koliabor, Jorhat, Dibrugarh and Lakhimpur. In Tripura, the polling took place in Tripura West seat. As many as 51 candidates are vying for the 5 seats up for grabs in Assam. Among them are Union Ministers Rani Nara and Pawan Singh Khatuwar, former Union Minister and sitting MLA Bijoy Krishna Handik. The Congress, however, is confident of its victory.
I feel like if we have a comprehensive water policy, we'll be able to address many of our issues, and we'll see therefore a boost in agricultural output, a boost in income for our farmers. We'll see better health and safety conditions in our poorer sections of our villages, and we'll also see that we'll be able to find ways of mitigating the impact from flood and erosion.
In Tripura, polling remained brisk throughout the day. Voting for one of the 2 parliamentary constituencies in the state remained peaceful.
সাধারণত লোকসভার ভোট বিধানসভার চাইতে একটু কম হয় কিন্তু আমার ধারণা তারপরও ভালো হবে আমাদের অপেক্ষা করতে হবে সবেমাত্র তো 2-3 ঘন্টা হলো.
Adequate security arrangements were put in place for the polls, with additional companies of forces being deployed. The BSF also deployed special units along the 856-kilometer Indo-Bangla international border. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, to get a sense of how the voting went by today in these 2 states, I'm being joined by my colleague Pranav Goswami. He joins me live from Delhi. Pranav, as far as reports coming in, it seems like the voting went off really well. High voter turnout, that seems like a big positive.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, and Assam always records very high voter turnout. This time also everybody was expecting this kind of high voter turnout. If we talk about some issues, there are national issues in Assam like price rise, corruption, but there are some issues which are area specific. In Assam, in North Assam especially, if you see, then illegal infiltration across the border, especially from Bangladesh, has been a very, very important issue. And in Bodoland, 4 districts, they have been demanding for a separate state of Bodoland. That issue is very important in Assam. There are so many other issues also, but Congress is very powerful in Assam. They have been winning assembly elections, and BJP also in 2009 Lok Sabha election, they got 4 seats. But we'll be seeing 4 important parties are there apart from Congress: BJP, Assam Gana Parishad and UDF. UDF in 2006, Baduddin Ajmal formed UDF party, and in very next election, in 2011.
Absolutely. Pranav, focusing on today's voting per se, you know, security was a big challenge. Have there been any reports of any untoward instances either in Assam or in Tripura?
But there are so many separatist groups like ULFA and other NDFB. These groups this time they had said that they appeal for peaceful polling. So that is a very big relief for security agencies and election commission also. But so far, no any this sort of incident have not been reported, and it was a very big relief for election commission and security agencies that insurgent groups and separatist groups they had appealed for peaceful polling.
Absolutely. So Pranav, it's a good start for the Lok Sabha elections. Many more days to go. Lots of states to go for polling. Thanks so much for joining us with those inputs. Now, on the day that the first phase of elections they kicked off, the BJP unveiled its much talked about election manifesto. The manifesto encompasses a wide range of issues ranging from economic growth to social sector problems. The 52-page document released by Prime Ministerial candidate Narendra Modi with other senior leaders also pledged to provide for good governance and inclusive development.
The BJP on Monday released its manifesto focusing on improving the country's economy and infrastructure, ending policy paralysis and curbing corruption. Contentious issues like construction of a Ram temple in Ayodhya, abrogation of Article 370 giving special status to Jammu and Kashmir, and enactment of uniform civil code that have been included in the manifesto with the party making promises on them.
अगर इकोनॉमी को आपने आगे ले जाना है तो उसमें निवेश इन्वेस्टमेंट ये करना जरूरी है. उसके सारे रास्ते इसमें सुझाए हैं कैसे किया जाएगा. अर्थव्यवस्था का मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और एग्रीकल्चर ये इस समय बहुत आवश्यक है. बिना मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के जॉब्स नहीं आएंगी, नौकरी नहीं बनेगी. मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का सामान अगर एक्सपोर्ट नहीं होगा तो हमारा CAD जो करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट है वो कम नहीं होगा. अगर हमें विदेशी पूंजी इकट्ठी करनी है तो हमारा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एक्सपोर्ट ओरिएंटेड होना चाहिए. तो इसके लिए ब्रांड इंडिया ये हमें तैयार करने होंगे.
BJP has promised to put in place strict measures and special courts to stop hoarding and black marketing. The manifesto promises to start process of bringing back black money to India. Barring the multi-brand retail sector, FDI will be allowed in sectors wherever needed for job and asset. Agri-rail network will be established designed to cater to the specific needs of perishable agricultural products. Promising tax reforms, BJP said its tax policy roadmap includes focus on a non-adversarial and conducive tax environment, overhaul of the dispute resolution mechanisms, bringing on board all state governments in adopting GST and provision of tax incentives to promote investment. The manifesto also finds mention of Ram Mandir. The party reiterates its stand to explore all possibilities within framework of constitution to facilitate construction of the temple in Ayodhya. BJP's Prime Ministerial candidate Narendra Modi congratulated Murli Manohar Joshi for including the aspirations of people in the manifesto.
ये मैनिफेस्टो न ही एक चुनावी रिचुअल है और न ही यह कागजी दस्तावेज है. यह हमारी दिशा है, यह हमारा लक्ष्य है. 125 करोड़ देशवासी उनके सपनों को सुनिश्चित करने का प्रयास इस मैनिफेस्टो में देखा जा सकता है.
In a manifesto that promises economic revival, the BJP also says it will link welfare schemes like the Congress-led government's rural job schemes to assets creations. The party promises focus on infrastructure such as new cities, high-speed railways and broadband internet even in villages. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, with the BJP releasing its manifesto today, almost a week after both the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress, comparisons are being made about each other's stand on key issues. The opposition parties have criticized the manifesto, saying the party has not mentioned how some of the proposals will be implemented. Take a look at what the BJP, the Congress and the Aam Aadmi stand is on various issues.
BJP's 52-page manifesto, promising good governance and development, has drawn sharp criticism from other political parties. Despite stacking the controversial Ram Mandir issue in the back pages of the manifesto, other parties feel it remains a core issue for the Saffron Party. It has also raised question over implementation of some of the promises made by BJP.
ब्लैक मनी कैसे लाएंगे, कब लाएंगे, कितने समय में लाएंगे, क्योंकि पूरे देश के अंदर आपने शोर मचा रखा था। 6 महीने के अंदर, साल भर के अंदर देश के लोगों को बताइए कि आपके क्या कमिटमेंट हैं। आपकी सरकार आती है तो कैसे लेके वापस आएंगे ब्लैक मनी, कितने दिन के अंदर लेकर आएंगे।
इस घोषणा पत्र में बिहार को विशेष राज्य का दर्जा दिया जाएगा, इसका कोई संकल्प नहीं। ये एक निराशा का, टकराव का और भटकाव का घोषणा पत्र है।
राम मंदिर के बारे में ये कहा गया कि संवैधानिक जो ढांचा है उसके तहत कोशिश होगी राम मंदिर बनाने की। तो उद्देश्य तो स्पष्ट है कि अभी भी कि संविधान की बात तो चलती रहेगी, लेकिन उनका ये हिंदुत्व एजेंडा को पूरा कर।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी राम मंदिर पे चुनाव लड़ना चाहती है, इस देश को राम मंदिर मस्जिद इन सब मुद्दों में उलझा के रखना चाहती है। ये तो बहुत शर्मनाक बात है। दूसरी बात की जो देश की सबसे 2 बड़ी समस्याएं हैं, महंगाई और भ्रष्टाचार। महंगाई कैसे कम करेंगे, महंगाई कम करने के लिए बीजेपी क्या क्या स्टेप उठा सकती है, कहीं कोई जिक्र नहीं है उसमें। भ्रष्टाचार दूर करने के लिए क्या करेंगे।
BJP, along with Congress and Aam Aadmi Party, have focused on some common issues in their respective manifestos. When it comes to the key question of economy, all parties have various promises on offering new jobs. Price rise is another issue which has found mentions across the manifestos. While Congress kept silent on black money issue, both BJP and AAP are keen to bring it back. BJP and AAP are on the same platform on the issue of FDI in multi-brand retail. Consistent with their earlier stands, both the parties want retail sector beyond FDI's reach. All the 3 parties have mentioned zero tolerance towards terrorism. While Congress has specific plans to deal with Maoist menace, the other 2 parties have not elaborated their agendas on their details. BJP and Congress's manifesto also spoke about developing new cities across the country and other such developmental schemes. Though it remains to be seen how much will these promises translate into votes. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, for more on that, let me get in my colleague Shyam Sundar. He joins me from New Delhi. Shyam, we just played out a detailed report comparing all the 3 parties and their manifestos. Now, promises we all know at election time are being made, but the key challenge is implementation. What do you have to say about the implementation strategy of each party now that we do know what are the promises that they've made?
Sana, you are absolutely right. BJP has made many promises. They have promised bullet trains, but everybody knows that Indian Railway is facing huge losses, 25,000 crore every year, and security, improving security and changing rail lines and to construct new railway lines is a big challenge, and there is a budget cut every year in railways, and the PPP model is not very successful in railways. So how they will fulfill this commitment, it has to be seen. They must have a scheme in their mind, but it is no, if we talk about BJP manifesto, the manifesto is silent on this. Same thing about employment generation. They have promised that they will create jobs. Congress says that they will create at least 10 crore jobs in next 5 years. But again, how they will do it, in which sector they will do it, again manifesto is silent. So opposition parties are criticizing BJP manifesto, and they have a right to criticize, because when you blame present government that they haven't done enough for the development or for economic growth, then you should have given a path on which you will take the country in next 5 years if you come to the power. But yes, BJP has promised many things, but as far as implementation is concerned, party is silent on that front.
All right, so you're saying there is some sort of lack of clarity as far as the vision is concerned, objectives are concerned. Thanks so much, Shyam Sundar, for joining us with those inputs. We're taking a very short break. I'll be back with lots more. You're watching India Votes. Now, on a day when the first phase of the mammoth elections kicked off, parties continued campaigns in other parts of the country to woo voters. High on promises, parties urged voters to ensure a strong majority for them in these elections. Here's a report.
Campaigning by political parties continued in full swing on Monday, even as the first phase of polling was on in parts of Assam and Tripura. Congress's star campaigners Sonia and Rahul Gandhi addressed rallies in Orissa and Karnataka. The mother-son duo criticized key opposition BJP of selling false promises.
1 लाख करोड़ रुपए इलीगल माइनिंग में उन्होंने आपसे चोरी कर लिए, उठा के ले गए। जो पैसा आपकी प्रगति में लगना चाहिए था, आपके विकास में लगना चाहिए था, इन महिलाओं की प्रगति में लगना चाहिए था, वो पैसा बीजेपी के नेताओं की जेब में चला गया।
As part of his Bharat Vijay campaign, BJP's PM nominee Narendra Modi too held public meetings in Rajasthan and Haryana. Speaking at a gathering in Jhajjar in Haryana, Modi raked up the controversial land deals involving Sonia Gandhi's son-in-law, Robert Vadra.
शहजादे जी जरा जवाब दो, ये बाजीगर कौन है, ये किमियागर कौन है, ये कौन सी नीतियां हैं हरियाणा सरकार की जिसने आपके जीजाजी को जिसके जेब में 1 रुपया नहीं था, 3 महीने में 50 करोड़ रुपया कमा के दे दिए।
UP Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav hit the campaign trail in Bihar, addressing rallies in Munger, Shivhar, Hajipur and Bar districts.
ये लोकतंत्र में 5 साल बाद आपको मौका मिलता है। ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण समय है जब आपको सोच समझ करके और पूरी समझदारी के साथ निर्णय लेना है। जो हालात हैं वो देश के और प्रदेश के वो आपके सामने हैं।
BSP Chief Mayawati also held a rally in the national capital, which goes to polls in the second phase on the 10th of April. Campaigning for party candidate Jarnail Singh, Aam Aadmi Party Chief Arvind Kejriwal held a roadshow in the West Delhi Lok Sabha constituency. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And more candidates filed nomination papers on Monday. BJP's candidate from Amritsar, Arun Jaitley, filed his papers from the Punjab capital today. He's up against former Punjab Chief Minister Amrinder Singh. On the other hand, National Conference Chief and Union Minister Farooq Abdullah too filed his papers in Srinagar. Voting in both these constituencies will take place on 30th April. BJP's Paresh Rawal also filed his nomination papers from Ahmedabad. BJP's candidate from Bhatinda, Harsimrat Kaur Badal, also filed her papers. She will take on Congress's Manpreet Singh Badal.
ਅੱਜ मैं औपचारिक तौर ਤੇ अपना नॉमिनेशन भरिया है। मैं मानना कि जिस तरीके ਦੇ हालात बने ने ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਹੁਣ ਕੋਈ ਗੁੰਜਾਇਸ਼ नहीं रह गई कि ਸਾਡੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਜਿੱਤ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਗੱਠਜੋੜ ਦੇ ਸਾਥੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਬਣਨੀ ਹੈ।
Now, the Election Commission has issued a notice to BJP's General Secretary Amit Shah over his recent hate speech in Bijnor near riot-affected Muzaffarnagar. The poll panel issued the notice to the controversial former Gujarat Home Minister and sought his reply. In the Commission's meeting on Monday, the poll panel found prima facie that Shah's statement regarding revenge raised some questions for the Model Code of Conduct. He has been given 2 days' time to reply to the Election Commission's notice. The action follows a complaint by Congress seeking action against him for his speech. Congress had earlier demanded that Shah be arrested and debarred from campaigning in Uttar Pradesh. Now, after making a clean 7-0 sweep in the general elections last year, the Congress will be hard-pressed to repeat its feat in Delhi this time round. But there may still be a glimmer of hope for the party. Here's a report on how the main contestants stand in the South Delhi constituency.
The South Delhi Lok Sabha seat is a study in many contrasts. Posh colonies, pockets of affluence, and government colonies stand side by side with slums and unauthorized colonies. What, however, the binding thread is that people are living in the same conditions for years together. There has been no change in the basic amenities of education, water, electricity, and employment.
उम्मीदवार जो खड़े हुए हैं जीत के चले जाते हैं, अभी तक तो आते नहीं। हमारे 15 साल से हम लोग परेशानी उठा रहे हैं, न सीवर है, न कुछ है, सड़कें खुदी पड़ी हैं, नाले भरे पड़े हैं, सारी गंदगी है। स्कूल में पढ़ाई ठीक नहीं है, स्कूल ऐसे ही बस खोल के रख दिया है कि हाँ भाई जाओ खोल दिया है, हमने ये कर दिया है, उनके नाम के लिए हो रहा है।
हमारे इलाके में नाली, पानी, बिजली ये हो गया और दूसरे स्कूल नहीं है, हर चीज की दिक्कत है।
The South Delhi constituency has 10 assembly seats. Barely 4 months ago, in last year's state elections, the Congress returned empty-handed. The BJP won 7 seats, while the Aam Aadmi Party took the remaining 3 seats. Satyaprakash Rana of the BJP won the Bijwasan seat, Dharamdev Solanki of the BJP won the Palam seat, Parvesh Sahib Verma of the BJP won the Mehrauli seat, Brahma Singh Tawar of the same party won the Chhatarpur seat, Harmeet Singh got the Kalkaji seat, Ramesh Bidhuri got the Tughlakabad seat, while Rambir Singh Bidhuri got the Badarpur seat. From the Aam Aadmi Party, Prakash won the Devli seat, Ashok Kumar won the Ambedkar Nagar seat, and Dinesh Mohania got the Sangam Vihar seat. In the Lok Sabha elections in 2009, the Congress swept all 7 seats till the assembly polls came a shock, with the Congress tally reduced from 43 seats to just 8 seats. This time, the party will have a tough contest on its hands for the Lok Sabha election. Current MP Ramesh Kumar is pitted against Ramesh Bidhuri of the BJP. Bidhuri lost in 2009 by 93,219 votes. For the Aam Aadmi Party, Colonel Devinder Sehrawat is in fray. Each of them has his own reasons for expecting a win.
5 साल पहले मुझे लोगों ने चुनकर लोकसभा में भेजा और कंटिन्यू में 365 दिन के 365 दिन अपने क्षेत्र में रहा और लोगों की जो भी समस्याएं उनका मैंने समाधान किया।
पार्लियामेंट में जाने के बाद सबसे पहले बात होगी हरियाणा हमारे हिस्से का पानी दिल्ली का छोड़े और साउथ दिल्ली में जो पानी के लिए हाहाकार उसकी निजात लोगों को दिलाई जाए। और कांग्रेस वहां पर खत्म हो चुकी है। 3 आम आदमी पार्टी के विधायक के साथ हमारे भारतीय जनता पार्टी के।
पहली बात तो मैं एक इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ की बात करूंगा जिसमें कि जो आम आदमी है उसके हितों की रक्षा करी जाए। इकोनॉमी की डेवलपमेंट के मॉडल से लेकर किसानों की रक्षा से लेकर गरीब वर्ग से लेकर मध्यम क्लास से लेकर इन सब को लेकर एक जो है इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ का मॉडल हम चाहते हैं।
Since December, the Aam Aadmi Party has lost its sheen somewhat. The party's failure to provide a stable government has put a question mark on its prospects, which means that in a field of 21 candidates, over 16.42 voters are expected to choose mainly between the Congress and the BJP. Vipin Chauhan's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
10 Lok Sabha seats in Haryana will be going to polls on the 10th of April, and unlike before, this time it won't be a two-way contest. Here's a look.
It's the clash of ideologies this time in the Bhiwani constituency of Haryana, where the fate of some of the key leaders is at stake. Former Chief Minister Bansilal's granddaughter and sitting MP Shruti Chaudhary is once again trying hard for the seat.
With God's grace, I have been able to do a lot of work here, and there is a lot of support from the people because, you know, they see me as a part of the family, and there's a personal attachment that one has with everyone here and with the elders, with the youngsters. So it's been a pleasure to work for them and to serve them.
While the Congress would be looking to retain most of the 9 seats it won in Haryana in 2009, the INLD would seek to open its account as the party had failed to win a single seat in the last Lok Sabha elections.
हरियाणा में देश में कांग्रेस ने भ्रष्टाचार फैलाने का काम किया और जिस प्रकार से बीजेपी ने कांग्रेस को लोगों को टिकट देने का काम किया, इसलिए एक तरफा चुनाव हमारे पक्ष में करने का लोग काम किया।
Meanwhile, the Haryana Janhit Congress and the BJP are hoping to capitalize on party's strengths in Bhiwani. The Aam Aadmi Party has focused on the state immensely after its stunning show in the Delhi Assembly elections last December. So the contest here is expected to be intriguing. Palak Sharma, Rajya Sabha TV.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Votes. Time for a short break.